Okay, I don't see anybody popping in here, which I don't blame them because I've done like several lives today, but it's for engagement and it's for the algorithm as well as just recapping things that I've talked about because sometimes when I do lives and I pull cards for people, it ends up being like a 3 hour live. So just to put the information out there in those videos. So, and when I went live and doing the Lucero video, people asked me about meditation and spiritualism. So again, I'm going to put up a skills video for visualization because, like I explained earlier, like Karate Kid, when the master's telling you to wax on, wax off, and do chores, the point is that he doesn't get it. The point isn't to do chores. The point is to develop, micro muscles. The point is to develop discipline. And so, all meditation does is really help you create focus and discipline. If you don't have focus and discipline, then meditation could be one way to do that. But if you have enough willpower, say even exercise would require, at least focus and discipline or what you eat, and then that would actually make a lot of, ashe, personal power, life force to your body. There's actually is a magical component to that. So all that's going to do is sitting there and clearing your mind. That's all that's going to do is focus and discipline. So that's not going to really help you per se in spiritualism, although that will help you practice anything more effectively with focus and discipline. So guided meditation is something completely else. So um, earlier, more in my magical thing. I'm still very interested in Kabbalah. There's meditations on the world tree with tarot that have certain place markers, and you could, with Yggdrasil or whatever your path is, you know, that's very interesting. I found that very helpful for me. And your mind kind of fills in the blanks. Like I was reading kind of like some story to you on a live or something. I think it was a 3 hour live. I'm not sure. Like you walk into a kitchen, you see a baker all dressed in white. They go over to the fireplace. It's an old medieval style kitchen. You see um, servants bustling around. The chef takes the pies and puts it on the cooling rack in front of you and cuts a slice for you on the plate. Okay, so now what kind of fruit is it? Some people might see blueberry pie. Some people might see cherry pie. I don't know. So why did you see that and why did I see that? Did I just see that because that's my favorite pie? Is that related to a spirit that I knew that really liked that? Like you need to start understanding the way that spiritual abilities work through our own um mundane senses because we see things that's visually that's seeing a vision, right? Hearing spirits. Well, I can hear someone knock on the door too, but this is a spiritual hearing. So if you refine your mundane senses, like you have a really sharp sense of smell or you smelt a bunch of things, if you're born blind, then obviously you're probably not going to have a lot of spiritual visions. So, because you just don't have a lot of reference points as well. Now, if you became blind later in life, then you probably still would have spiritual visions. So it does very much matter our physical capabilities and senses in a way. And not everybody's born equal, so somebody might have very strong abilities in dreaming, and then somebody else might have some very, very strong abilities in hearing. Although I will say constantly seeing spirits 24/7, like some people claim, is exceedingly rare and probably mental illness at that point. Just doesn't really exist like 24/7, seeing a ghost like 24/7. Like the person's probably lying or maybe mental illness at that point. I will say that would be very, very, very rare that you just always see a ghost. Just always. Um, are we probably almost always under the influence of spirits, though? Probably. That's interesting. Okay, so guided meditation. Also, don't just sit there in front of your table and be like thinking about, oh, I really want to talk with my gypsy. So I'm imagining like gypsies dancing Like singing the songs, yes, that will help absolutely, but like don't force the visualization basically. Like all you're doing, like I said in another video, is being passive. So you are just like, before a friend comes over and maybe you're just like tidying a few things because you can't get too involved in something. Like we can't do a major project right now because we just got dressed. My bag's ready to go by the door. My friend's about to come over. So it's just that kind of sense of, okay, I'm just going to sit here on the couch for a second and wait for them because I know the doorbell's about to call. It's the same thing. You sit there just for a second. I know they're about to come. That is way more effective. Being there like passive like that and get that kind of feeling, get that kind of sense in. Also, just knowing that your spirit guides are going to be positive vibration. It should feel peaceful. It should feel good. They might just give you like a kick to the chest kind of warning. Sometimes it kind of feels like that when something's very serious, like boom, like But just the shocking stuff. But in general, their influence is going to be positive, good suggestions, not forceful on you because you can make up your own mind. They have their own ideas, obviously, but you have to own it. You are going to have to be the one with the consequences. They're there to guide you only. Um, yeah, so try to do guided meditations. Energy work is a form of like visualization and meditation, which is going to be way more useful to you if you can pick up some form of like Reiki, Tai Chi, um, Qigong, because it's going to get you familiar with, or if you have someone in person that can practice with feeling energy, like what is spiritually, like we know if something's hot, we put our hand on it. That's fire. You might even burn yourself. Not to do that again. But what does it feel like? Like, what does it feel like? And you get that spiritual sensations. You get these spiritual, you get to know what spiritual forces feel like. And that's why witches like do stuff seasonally to keep in tune with nature so that they will not only go with the flow of creation so their manifestation works earlier, but they get the senses, like they get the different energies of like what Christmas is like versus like what freaking harvest is like, what spring is like, is very different energies. And that's all they were really doing for fertility, to make their stuff grow, for more babies, for more cows, and venerating the dead, which had something to do with that. So that's all it we really are doing. Um, so I like planetary stuff. I don't really tie this to any deities or anything. I just try to do like elements, planetary stuff, and then do like guided meditations. I found that very, very much more helpful. So energy work. When you pray, that is a form of meditation. That is a form of meditation. If you're putting up your boundaries, you're calling your spirits, you see them standing around you, are they really doing that, or are you just picturing that? I think it's a form of both. I think it helps manifest that energy. Your visualization, you're manifesting that energy. So when you're praying, the visualization, how I'm saying visualization, I'm not really saying meditation, I'm saying visualization. Uh, is that the same thing as meditation to you guys? I don't know. Right? Like define meditation first of all. Like that's what I want to know. What are we talking about? Because just sitting there and just like, I need to be a completely blank slate. That's what I thought as a newbie. That's not what we're doing. Like just maybe for a second, like, okay, clear away the day. Okay, clear my channel. Okay, sit there. Okay, blank. Okay, step back. Where are you? Whatever. You're going through your process. You're doing your opening prayers. You have your candle, you have your incense, whatever helps you, the cologne, whatever helps you connect with them, that that they like. That's you're engaging your senses. And then memory has to do with smell. It's one of the last senses to go besides hearing before you die, actually, is scent and hearing. And so think about mortals, right? Think about mortals. They might not be able to see as well, they say, with the dead as well. That's why we have the candles. But we also have sense and hearing. They can hear. So that's also why we have to do things out loud as well. Not everything can just be in our head. With meditation and visualization, we do need to say things out loud. We do need to do certain rituals in these traditions. Um, a lot of people try to mix them and be like, everything's mind. I've surpassed everything. I'm master magician. I don't need any traditions. Like, no. But these things do help really refine your mind. Refine your mind. Have a clean mind. Know yourself. Know your weaknesses. Know your tendencies. Know your personalities. Know your desires. Know your motivations. People can't use those against you. Spirits can't use that. Can't necessarily use that against you. If you really want the answer to something to be yes, you know, especially in the beginning when you have way more emotions, because Paulo, we say no emotions. uh, you could become more like a dead. You can't be all emotional because that's gonna flavor everything. So you have to be really like just boom, these are facts. That if you know your emotions really tied to it, then and you get a yes, you kind of have to sometimes if you're not using the oracle with the shrine, sometimes you really have to kind of like check yourself and be like, you know, also receiving messages. Sometimes your messages are for yourself and you're just projecting everything onto somebody else. Like that's you have to know when, you know, it's easy to tell somebody else what to do, but maybe they're also telling you what to do. You know what I mean? Because like spiritism was given to us for our own moral perfection, according to Kardec. So it's not that we're super great that we have abilities. It's more like we have to work off our time and we have to help spirits. Being a troubled spirit or trying to work off things is how we are kind of servicing by being like a medium, by being a bridge, and also going through a lot of suffering. Like we normally don't have like a lot of easy lives, a lot of people. So yeah, there's payment, right, for everything. So um that's when it comes to meditation. I don't know if you guys have any other questions. Like there's books that I like that from a long time ago I found really useful. Like meditating. Usually people will go down into this is final thing I'll say and I'll jump off. People usually will go down to a cave or like a deep root, and people do like this secularly. Like people do this in therapy. They sit there and they ground. They sit there, they do a whole bunch of shit and they don't even know what they're doing. And so that's also really dangerous in sharing energies and spaces and stuff like that, because they're doing like a basically like a very secular removed form of energy work. But anyway, they will go down into like a deep cave basically, because you got to go down before you go up. Like you got to deal with the dead before you deal with the high. You know what I mean? You got to deal with um even Jesus after he dies goes down into hell, gets a bunch of souls there, and then he pops up to heaven. Basically is where we're at right now, even in the year. When you're looking at the sun and stations of the year, basically that's what we're going through. So um yeah, so basically they go down into a cave. Sometimes there needs to be some cleaning up going on down there, because it's basically a form of your subconscious. There may be some fear dealing with some stuff down there. Eventually it'll be a bit more of a productive area down there. And then they'll have you come up to like a light, and then you'll find yourself in a sort of, I don't want to tell you guys what's exactly there, because you have to construct it yourself. Your mind and what's there is going to be very special for you. So I don't want to tell you guys like that's what you're going to see. I'm just going to tell you the places, and then what's in there, that's up to you and your spirits and your ancestors and what you got going on. Okay, but then you'll come up to like a more natural area. It'll be like kind of foresty or kind of grassy or like a forest path or something. There might be a river or whatever. You'll see something there, and then you'll go to kind of like a more clearing place or an area, or you will see maybe some of your spiritual guides there, or you might even see like a double of your altar there with your spiritual tools on it. And that's all I'm going to say as well. I found that extremely helpful. And even your spiritual tools, they are kind of enchanted in a way that we have a double of them on the other world. So like even like as straight, just like as a witch, having like a dagger or something and putting that to your spirits, and you're using that in your spiritual rituals, you might find when you're in danger, just think about your knife, and then you're going to have that in your dream or whatever. Like it has an astral double, basically a spiritual double to because that's a magical realm. That's like the emotional realm, below the logical realm is the astral dream world. So we will have doubles of these things that you can use later. So that's why I think meditation is useful to me, basically. And if you have um, personal problems, or you're dealing with family issues, stressful stuff, maybe you went through trauma, I don't know, then you might find these meditative, exercises just to get in touch with yourself, a lot more helpful. One thing that they had a diagram which I found really helpful, was like it's a well. So it's like a hill, there's like a well up here, it goes all the way down, and there's water right here. So this is like what we're feeling down here. They said this is the well, but before you get to the well, there's usually like a valve. There's usually like a screen or something to like keep out all the leaves and stuff like that. So sometimes your bucket hits the metal grate and then it goes down to the well. So just before, you yell at somebody, or do something you don't want to do or something, that's just sort of that check valve, and then it hits the water kind of thing. So they do stuff like that just so you can, check it in with yourself. But you can, they did meditations and stuff where like you are already getting to the place where they're going. So you're listening to the meditation, you're doing it along, whatever, with a YouTube video or wherever you guys got this. And you'll find yourself like already completing the mission. Like you're in the ocean or whatever, and you didn't know that like the end of the meditation was about being in the water and stuff like that. So you'll find yourself, you're like, how did I do that though? Like, how did I know that this, meditation was about a tree and I'm really the tree or something? Like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that people have codified this over like spiritual information over centuries. It's not just from meditation, but there are themes and spiritual spirits, and our dreams and magic works again on our subconscious, on that realm, on the dream realm. So that's how people are accessing that, and those symbols basically is through meditation. But you have to have a language of symbols. So if you are meditating and you see like a whole bunch of shit, like I see a raven and a cheeseburger, and then I saw like the Great Wall of China, and I saw this and that, and then this and that, and this and that. That's like you're not gonna know what that means. So it's like you have to be symbolically living, basically. You have to understand personally what that means to you, because your spirits will have different calling cards. Like, okay, every time I see a baby, I think of innocence, whatever. You just have that reference point, and your spirits use that. I don't know. But like in general, certain things will have an innate value to them that everybody will understand. Like that symbol means that, basically. So, but getting like a dictionary of symbols and stuff like that, if you start looking, because there are a few books that have like a list of dictionary of symbols, can be maybe beneficial to you. Because again, I don't like comparative religion. However, some of these things you might find useful, or, across the board or whatever. So if you know what the symbols mean or whatever, and then also that's why you might need dream interpreters or people in religion, because they have that specialty knowledge. So they'll be like, oh yeah, shit, like you dreamt a bunch about this ritual, like you're not in this religion, like there's no way you shouldn't have seen that. They'll know like you had some legitimate contact, or you really have something to do with that. So um basically there's interpretation as well. So okay, you meditated, you got this, or you got the spiritual information, now there's interpretation. So again, that's where perspective, perception comes in again with mentorship and stuff like that. So basically, yeah, for your health, for your prayers, for your boundaries, for your spiritual protection work and stuff like that, and detection, absolutely, your spider senses. And that also comes up with like spiritual location and stuff like that. Like if you close your mind, you picture yourself walking to the door and back without getting sucked back into your body, stuff like that. There are very many exercises, and not everybody is going to find like every exercise helpful. Like I've read a lot of books on occults back in the day, not about African religions because I want legit experience. But back in the day I've read a lot of material, and a lot of methods didn't work for me. Like I read Astral Dynamics with Bruce, whatever his name is, and like he's sponging up water up your legs and stuff. Not useful to me. Almost none of that shit worked for me. Climbing out of the ladder out of your body, like rocking back and forth side to side, like a little bit, but no, not really. Like Maybe if I was what do you call it, sleep paralysis, I could see that, helping a little bit, breaking that. But that's more a failed re-entry back into your body, or a failed like projection, like you're just kind of more stuck. Either that, or it's a medical condition, or an evil entity basically sitting on you, causing that to happen. Because I've had experiences with that before. Um, so yeah, not everything's gonna work for everybody, but like I've done a lot though, and I've had a very interesting kind of enriched upbringing as well. Like I was fed salmon and bananas for like my baby food, you know what I mean? And my mom did a lot of games with me and did a lot of things at home, and we did a lot of seasonal observances. Even though I was brought up Catholic and went to Catholic school, she would paste different colored leaves on the window in the fall. She would always give me Easter candy and do an Easter hunt, put up the eggs, and even I even got a pet rabbit one year, you know what I mean? Like, so um um even though it was Christian, like, um just I had a lot of enrichment, I guess you could say. And like you need to have that childlike wonder, and a believing non-believing. Like, don't judge your experience right away. You don't have to accept it right away, especially if it's not like dangerous. Who cares? You don't have to be analyzing every single thing in the moment. Just be like, okay, like I'm just kind of like you're watching a cartoon or someone's telling you a story. If somebody walked off the street and is like, hey, da 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 at you, you might not believe them. But just because you just got that in a dream, you're like, oh my God, this, and you believe every single thing about it. So it's like, it's easy to attack a person, it's harder to attack an idea. So, you know, people will believe everything that someone wrote in a book, but the minute there's a priest telling you, like, no, we really don't do it, guys, they get attacked. You know what I mean? But you would read a book that some other priest wrote and believe everything in it. It's just one of those things. It's human nature. So, yeah, understanding a little bit about psychology, I have a background in that as well, will definitely help you understand things about polarity, nature, your brain. That's the subconscious and the conscious. Everything, everything. So I have a really good background in a lot of different stuff to help me understand a lot of this stuff and a lot of the material. But basically, all those books I read like 20 years ago, like 11, we're talking like $1,100 20 years ago in books of occult and stuff like that. And of course, a lot of stuff is free online. And I'm a university educated person who's very intelligent. There's still connections I didn't make between the material. There's a lot of things I did not understand in a huge amount of depth until I went through ATRs. And even then, 4 years past Palo, took people, that have been raised and experienced different lifestyle to explain certain things to you. So just be very patient, because you're not going to be a master and learn everything and know everything of where I'm at in 2 or 4 years. Like, just know that there's a lot of experience and hard work that goes into this. Yeah, this live is going to be saved, because this is an informational live where I'm trying not to deviate. I don't shy away from addressing, people or topics or anything on my lives, but I will tend to delete them and then just come back and then just, talk about the salient material. So I will be uploading a skills video, which is like a memory game, which I had since I was a child. And I will talk about other ways that you can sharpen your mundane senses. Of course, you guys can guess a few of them, like blindfold taste testing, obviously, smelling different things. A cologne that your dad used to wear that's gonna remind you of something. If you start dating a man, he wears it. Like, that might be like, oh, certain connotations, reference points that you have in your mind. You might not like someone instantly. It might be vibes, or is it just all reference points? Again, I've touched on, if people have trauma, they're very watchful, and they develop this type of like senses of watchfulness because they take in every single little detail. And then also empathy. It's not just like, it's sympathy. It's a form of more sympathy than it is getting completely drowned and in emotions and someone else's story, or the emotions of the morto telling you their how they died and their tragic tale and all this. Like, it's just more like, okay, okay, like I accept what you're saying, but I don't truly like accept it all as true and all as like right now in the moment. Okay, guys, we do research later, and as long as it's not hurting anybody, who cares, right? So that you don't get caught up in the moment, but you do need to like write material down because some things are just not gonna make sense until later. Like I got into interpretation a little bit, but even then, like it's weird how stuff from even 10 years ago, like you're like, wow, like will come back and be a thing or something. So, or people will tell you something, or you, oh, I dreamt that before, or and then the other thing I'm going to say is, yeah, I purposely didn't read a bunch of books on ATRs because I don't want to be like, I even just from things I saw and being around 10 years, I had false thoughts about things. But like I'm just saying, like if you listen to a bunch of Haitian music, you do a bunch of drawings of like the Gede and do all this stuff, and then you go, oh, I had a dream about the Gede. Yeah, well, no shit, you've been feeding your subconscious all this material. You know what I mean? So if someone had like more like a sporadic dream where they saw a bunch of stuff, and I know there's no way they could have seen that, like like that's a lot more impact. You know what I mean? Than someone who's like just sees a bunch of stuff and then now you see it in a dream because your mind's job is to, now we're getting on dreams and not meditation, but your mind's job is to filter that when you're sleeping, like go through, filter all the stress out, heal your body, all that. Your mind's going through everything. So if, whatever you feed your brain, that goes in your subconscious. So all the programming from like commercials you watch, movies you watch, music you listen to, things that people say to you, things that you tell yourself, like that's all in your mind. And so you have to be very, the more aware, self-aware person you are, and that doesn't mean I'm so holy, I know everything, blah blah blah. No, you know yourself, flaws and all. That's a very aware person that knows like all yourself very aware well. That's what I'm saying. That's a very self-aware person. And so these spirits and other things can't really run game on you. You're going to know if you color the information. Just be really truthful with yourself. Like you don't have to second guess every last thing you're saying you experience. I'm just saying like, be honest with yourself. Like you really want to be in voodoo, and then you consumed all this material and then you had a dream, like, okay, right? Yeah, so I don't know if anybody else has any questions about meditation. For me, it's more about visualization. It's more about doing something. For me, it's more about like it's more active. It's more about what am I gonna get out of this? If you they say like practicing any skill, like you want to learn violin, they say don't do it more than 10 or 15 minutes a day or you're going to hate it. Like even if you really start picking it up and you want to do more, don't, because you'll never learn that way. You'll just stop doing it. You'll just stop practicing. So it's like do skills that you're really good at. So like you're not good at meditation, say, then only do it for like 2 to 5 minutes and then go do something else that you're really good at. Like, okay, I'm really good at you know, whatever it is, whatever it is, because that's gonna um just gain your confidence basically. Like you can't just do stuff you're bad at all the time. Like that's not gonna gain your confidence in your other skills, but you will gain some later. Okay, so because this is about sense, meditation is about senses and stuff like that, your sensory information. Like I never really smelt like a lot of spiritual things earlier, like maybe like once, maybe twice, maybe in my life, maybe I could say maybe I smelt something that wasn't really there. But after becoming initiated like through spiritismo and then in Palo, like I smell things now like a lot more spiritually. So you'll have things that you're just born that way, that you're just excellent. Some people are just born to play in the NBA. They're born tall, and a short person's just never going to do that. You have to accept that you're going to be stronger at some things, and then some things you're going to have to work at, or you're just never going to do, and that's just not for you. So yeah, if you start knowing things that you're better at, then develop that, and then in time you're going to start developing your other senses and your other skills and stuff like that. So yeah, so the other thing I wanted to say was, besides the guided meditation, the visualization. So the senses, an apple. You closed your eyes, there was a red apple. Okay, you looked at it, you turn it around, you notice the light change on it, it's waxy, whatever. You smell it, doesn't really smell like much, kind of waxy. You take a bite out of it. Now you feel maybe like a little bit of like splash of like you bit into the apple like on your lip, crunch, it made a sound, right? So now I heard it, I tasted it, I smelt it, and I saw it, right? And I touched it. So I'm feeling the smoothness of the apple. Maybe I felt the stem, I twisted it around right in my hand. How does that feel for apple stem to be like twisted in your hand? Can you almost feel it like it's real, right? We're talking about sharpening your senses and having spiritual senses. You need to have very strong physical senses because they bank also on your spiritual senses and developing your visualization in your meditation, right? And I also gave you the example that's more to do with dreams and like astral projection and stuff like that. But spatially, can you walk around in your house with the lights out? That's going to help you deal with any fears of the dark or shadows and weird shit like that. Excuse my language, but it's gonna, but also spatially, like recognize like how far is the door from where I am at. You know what I mean? Without getting sucked into my back into my body again. Like how far can I walk away? How far can I walk down the street? Just imagining like everything on my way there, opening the door, everything outside. That's one of the, I think it was Robert Bruce Monroe when I was talking earlier about astral dynamics. That's one of the exercises that did help actually. That's one thing that did help was like it's kind of like a bilocation. So it's a spatial recognition. Of course, I've astrally projected, yes, and that's different than lucid dreaming. They're very similar, but astral projection is different than lucid dreaming because you can be completely awake and you can astrally project. You can't be completely awake and lucid dream. So it's similar, but it is different. Um, so yeah, there is something to spatial. Some people have no spatial awareness, especially in other cultures. They're used to everything being packed like sardines. They don't have any personal space issues. Me, I don't want you in my space. I want one arm's length away, please. And probably more if you're coughing or whatever, but I'm just saying, everybody has their own personal space requirements, right? But think about that spatial awareness. Some people have no spatial awareness. When you're working in a kitchen, some people trip over their own legs all over the place. They're bumping into each other because it's such a small area. Other people are more aware of movement. You know what I mean? What I have around me. That's spatial awareness. So that is also a form of visualization, is your spatial awareness. And that's also going to help with moving around like energy and spiritually. They say witch flight and all that, right? Like, yeah, that's a form of meditation. So again, like for me, meditation, the whole point of that is uh finding spiritual information, communicating with realms and spirits, aligning me with certain things, doing energy work. Like there's a point to my meditation. It's not straining and thinking of a particular entity, and it's not sitting there trying to just be completely blank. If that's not helpful, like I said. Um, so I don't know. What do you guys do for meditation? Did you learn anything? Did you use that helpful? Like, what types of meditation do you do? I just went through like, secular, therapy, what's out there. Even AA, the spiritualist circle was even kind of built on similar principles, therapy of sitting around in a circle. Okay, I'm talking. There's that. Yeah. Like I was into spiritualism, like I was into like magic and stuff like that for a good, I don't know, since I was 21 more officially, when I learned like Wicca even existed, I didn't know. But I knew about the dream time and I knew about Australians and I had like amazing dreams. I'm even related to them. like amazing dreams, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, this has got to be something, like too much weird shit. And then I was haunted by ghosts like extremely bad when I was a kid, extremely bad. I was in a military family. We lived in different houses and haunted houses, and I had experiences like with my sister at the same time. So I'm not crazy because she can even back me up. She saw the same stuff. She even moved on one spirit in one house. So it's like I was spiritually tormented by ghosts since I was like very young, very, very young. So I've been around like spiritually or with YouTube. I had another channel before I went into ATRs in 2013. Like I had a YouTube even before that for like ceremonial magic and somebody was I was with did have a mentor who was a Hungan and stuff like even then, but just even with magic, like I had already been around like a decade or so in these magical streets, you know what I mean, before I even, you know, and the reason I went into ATRs is because like none of the Greco-Roman Celtic things really wanted to talk with me really, so I was like, well, my magic works, but like this sucks. Like what about all the spirit stuff? So that's more the reason why I was more just doing stuff with like elements and planets and found that more helpful. And then went into ATRs for like that more like repair ancestral connection. And then now going back to all the European stuff, it makes way more sense because you can look at things knowing what all the energies are and look at all the stories like they're Patek keys. Like it's just amazing. It's amazing now. So um, meditation on mushrooms is absolutely a must because it's not a party drug. It's for ego death and it's for healing and it's a teacher and there's a spirit attached with that. Like someone I was talking to about mushrooms was saying, "Oh yeah, I just talked to the aliens, you know, through my brains with the mushrooms." I'm like, "No, there's an entity there, you know, that's helping you. That's a spirit and you can't disrespect that or, you know, one day it's going to hand it to you." Like you need to pray over your medicine before you take it, ask for a gentle experience, be respectful with like what you're taking, amount or quality or whatever. Um and ask it to do what you need it to do, like heal you, balance your body out, detox you, um like help your mood, like whatever you need it to do, and like I've had experiences where energy just moves over your body and like goes to like where it needs to go, and like it's a sense of like there's an entity there like that's like, oh, you're fucked up, and then it's like, oh, okay, and it starts to help you or whatever and goes to that area. Because if you go in there like tell me, and I needed this amount of experience on a party and da, 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 you might end up really fucked up. So I was doing it like actually quite a lot there for a little while. I'm not doing it now because of other things that I'm doing. But yeah, I had grown mushrooms in like decade, many years ago. But then when I had come back here, I needed something to help me because my body was really messed up. And yeah, it was helping me for a while there, and I was only like doing like micros because I'm so sensitive, because we're talking about being sensitive spiritually again. I don't need the same amount other people need. I only need like a very small amount of any substance, and I'm already gone because I'm already gone anyways. You know what I mean with the spirits. So like these things blow open holes in your aura. You need to protect yourself, you need to pray, ask your spirit guides to come in, stuff like that. So you absolutely, those visualization and meditation with that is absolutely necessary, right? Like, um, and I'm not encouraging people to go eat mushrooms. I'm just saying if you already do that or you know a lot about that, then incorporate that like in your practice. And I started doing that more after like I saw more shamans and people pray over their kurupe and doing the empacho like tobacco and stuff like that, which I always had a horrible experience with it. Only one time I had a kind of nice experience, but it was doing some heavy work, I guess, because I needed it. But it was awful, awful for me. But I almost tried anything, right? Because I wanted to get better. I want to try a bunch of different stuff. Obviously, I did spirituality. I followed a whole bunch of different stuff and modalities. I went to Chinese traditional medicine doctors, you know, tried a bunch of stuff. So, um, basically, I don't do mushrooms right now, but yeah. I do grow weed and it's legal in Canada, stuff like that. But that's more just to keep my immune system in check and stuff like that. Curb that. Constant of the mortals. Whenever it's instantly. Tell them to slow down. Just tell them to slow down. Be like one at a time. Like, and be like in order of need, and like you have to be in really good with your spirit guides, and that's why we have alignment, because it gets our spirit guides in order too, because right now they think that they can talk to you anytime that they want, and that's because your main spirit guide isn't like really like it's like the CEO, or like that's like the you know boss man, basically, like that's your main spirit guide. So basically now all of them are kind of like in disorder, so they think like they're not sure like which one's the protector and like which one's the guide. Like they all kind of guide you, and some are going to protect you more than others. Some can't protect you at all, they're just there to guide you, you know what I mean? So you have different types of guides, and so you're going to have one main guide and you're going to have one main protector, is what I've generally been taught in a spiritismo. And so when you go through your misas, that gets sorted out in alignment for us. When we do sanse, we're like, okay, what's the main guide? And so then you can talk to your main guide and be like, listen, like, no. Like they need one at a time in order of need. That's how I've done misas, because I have like 36 people from the community and I don't know who from who. So I'm like, okay, whoever's most important, like you guys need to get in order. Like, Beetlejuice, when they have those couches and they're like, for the new handbook for the newly departed, it's like that. Like, okay, social work is open, like Lucy is open, the doctor's in. Okay, like you need to make appointments, like get in line, you know what I mean? And when they're all jumbled, or if they all bother you at night, just be like, nope, I need to sleep, and I gotta go to work. And then when I get home in the afternoon, I'm going to my table. And you have to do it. Like you can't not do it. Don't say that. You have to do what you say. But like then they know they can't just bug you like whenever, unless it's extremely important and you have to do something now. Then like sorry, like I need my sleep too. I'm a human too. Like yeah. So your main spirit guide and your main protector is, your protector is going to keep everybody away, and your guide is going to kind of like help keep everybody in order and like process them. So your main spirit guide is going to be the one that is going to be the one that basically keeps everybody in line, and then your protector is going to be like, nope, no you don't, no you don't, no you don't, you have to wait, sorry, nope, next, next, next. And then if your own mortals are talking at the same time as other mortals, it's because they either haven't been paid attention to. So if you have all your stuff taken care of, you know what I mean, then they're not going to be adding to the noise. So okay, their stuff's taken care of. So why are they talking at the same time as other mortals? Like I said, they're not in line. They're not in line. But you just tell them, like, you just tell them all, shh, enough. You go, okay, in line. Okay, and you ask your main spirit guide, okay. So your main spirit guide is now telling all your other spirit guides also to zip it. And then they can say, okay, there's a reason why different spirit guides want to talk. And that's because different ones get along with certain energies or have a specialty more than the other ones. So, say, for example, you're interacting with a certain group of people, they culturally are going to have more similar spirits, or they might have a bunch of, say, blacksmith spirits. They have a bunch of blacksmith spirits. Okay, well, there's a reason why, your mortal under Zarabanda wants to talk to you right now, because he thinks that he can better talk to them, talk to their spirits, and then come back and talk to you. So, not every spirit is going to want to directly talk to you, they talk to you through your guides. And that's why everyone's talking at once, is because those mortals are talking, then your mortals are talking to those mortals, and then those mortals are also coming back to you to try to tell you what they're saying, like at the same time, basically. And you're just like, okay, well, everybody's basically jamming the switchboard right now because, like, You're all telling me the same thing at once, and that I can't make anything out now. So your main spirit guide can kind of like help you. It's like social work, kind of like process everybody, be like, I will get to everybody, I reassure them, you know what I mean, like, you know what I mean. And then I'm gonna sit down and be like, anything else, anybody else have anything else to say? Okay, after 2 hours, you might be sitting there for 3 hours and just be like, anything else? Okay, all right. And then they'll get to know in time that you're only as good as your word in these spiritual streets, okay? Beyond your will, your word. Keep your word. Don't even hanging out with your friends, don't say you're going to be there and then you don't show up. So that's why I rarely make plans unless I'm going to do it, because all you have is your word. Are you a man of your word, right? Your reputation. That's your spiritual reputation. So if they know that you're going to actually sit there and you're actually going to take the time and hear them out, and they're not so desperate, right? Because everyone's like, me, 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 me. They know, okay, they might just settle the hell down and then wait their turn. They're just like humans. They're just like, they're just don't have a body, you know? And they kind of do get like a little more infantile, or they kind of do get like a little messed up. Like they're not healthy or whatever. There's a reason why they're so, and they know that you can hear them. So they're like, it's like a bunch of dead cell phones walking around, and they see you and they're like, a charged cell phone. So, you know, Beetlejuice. Yeah, I have a bunch of funny examples because it's like, how do you reference something? And that's what I'm talking about, reference points, spiritual reference points. You would get that. So if a spirit talked to you and you saw that, then you would understand what they're talking about. But like somebody else, or in 1,000 years from now, they're not going to get that. They're not going to understand that. And unfortunately, we're talking to people who are dead from probably 1 to probably about 400 years ago, max, usually. The older ones, a lot of them tend to not come around because they kind of get dissipated or whatever. So we don't live like people lived like 2 to 400 years ago. So if they're showing you something like the way they lived, it might mean something to them. And if you don't practice that, like you don't practice beekeeping, you don't practice blacksmith, you don't get like that very intricate, like alchemical process, that one step, that one thing that they're showing you, you don't have a reference point from that. We don't live that way anymore. Like a lot of things that they did meant something, and the spirits still like enact that, but we're not. Even if you're from that same exact people, you don't live like that anymore. You're not making all your own stuff. You're not baking your own bread. You're not keeping chickens. You're not, and even people that still do that nowadays, we live modern lives. So, um, we need to think like antiquated people. We need to have historical reference points as well, and that's what the research comes later. Like oftentimes when you see medium shows, they're paired with a cop or something, and then they do the historical research. They go down to the city hall, they go get the records, and then they prove like, oh wow, there was like a baby that drowned here or whatever, and they're like, wow, damn, you know what I mean? How would you know that? So, um, always like it's a believing, have some healthy skepticism, don't automatically reject or judge. It's just kind of like, okay, 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 I'm watching this movie, I'm seeing what's happening, but I'm not like, placing a value to it yet. It just is. And people come from such a strong upbringing and point that it's kind of hard maybe to like, symbolically live or get into this mode of being, right? But I hope I explained a lot of things to you guys today about meditation, the mind, and like the way things work. And that's why when you get into divination and stuff like that, that's why like I'm not a tea leaf reader. Okay, one thing I can't do is a palm reader. Like I know some things about palms, but I'm not into palm reading. But if it takes looking at something, if it takes throwing something or making a pattern, splashing paint, I don't know. I can look at it and I can tell you what I think. I swear, I could look at clouds. I could look at a teacup. I could look, you throw something on the ground. I'll tell you what I think. Like, so once you know patterns of energy and you understand certain things, And then also you're going to have your own spiritual calling cards and stuff like that. Then you're going to have a language of like of what you're getting for the meditations. Yeah. There's also the cultural knowledge as well, which is specialized, according to a specific tradition, and that's when you're going to need help with your interpretations. But like, certain things mean certain things spiritually with certain like an older civilization and older things. Just certain things mean something like that we don't really have reference point now, like a cracked plate. This, that, this, that. Like somebody right now just tell me something and I'll just tell you like, oh, that's this symbol means this. Like if you saw a letter, okay, a letter is a symbol of what? A message, writing, communication, paperwork, right? That's what a letter means. Like a letter, like, you know what I mean? In the mail. I don't know. We can talk about anything and be like, okay, that's what it means. Like there's universal symbols, like cultural symbols, but it's also like it depends on the era that we live in, too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not direct. It's like, why can't you just tell me that? But for some reason, like we're blocked off to this access. That's the way our minds work, and that's just the way spirits work or whatever is through symbols. They don't just tell you like sometimes it is very direct, like you know, like don't go to Easter brunch or something. They might just be tell you that flat out. Or it might be like, you dream about a car and then like it turns into a Flintstone with your legs, but then you notice you don't have shoes and your feet are getting all messed up. You're like, maybe this is a bad sign for travel or something. I don't know, right? Like it just could be very direct. It could be very, but in general, they're not that direct. They can be, but yeah. So there are some meditation books again that I found helpful, but they're more like path working books. So find some path working, find some guided meditations, um, like with your tools and everything, and like what you have, and have a special place, a meeting place. Like we have our spiritual table, we have our white table as a meeting place between worlds. We say. But it helps in meditation to have a special place where you can meet with your guides, whether it's like a garden or whatever it looks like. When I dream a lot, I'm in a classroom with a whiteboard for me. But some of my spirits are like refined and like Matressa Lee, she's more like a school teacher vibe. So like that's why I see that. I'm in class, and they're writing things on the board and stuff like that. So like notice like where you're at. So these should help. Like I said, five people watch a car accident, they're in court, there's going to be like four different versions of the event of what people saw, because they're at different vantage points, they're standing in different areas, whatever, they might have biases. So um that's what I'm talking about, is trying to get perspective, trying to get that greater perspective, um and just like take it in. Like, so you have a vision, like, okay, place, where is it, what are they holding, what are they wearing? In history that only rich people wore purple clothes at some point in time. You know what I mean? Everybody else had very flax, very boring, just kind of like brown, whitish, kind of like dirty clothing. Like, so it might denote status or a time period or a specific set of people. So, like, did they have ribbons in their hair? Whatever. What color were they? It might denote like a specific tribe. But we don't know that like every day. You might have a lot of historical knowledge, and then the spirits can look through your brain and be like, ah, that, ah, that. So, just in general, being an educated person, like, and even in entry into mystery schools, like, yes, this is. I'm not gonna say low magic, but this is, folk magic. Or anybody can go into these things, but like, why not take advantage of, being a very educated person, having all those reference points of history, you know, so then you don't want to make it up when you have these dreams, but it's kind of like chicken and the egg. Like spirits can look through your file folders and be like that. And if you didn't have that in there, they could put it in there, and then that's how we know like what the fuck? Like how did you know that? or you just had that reference point from forever ago and then they used that. Or it's just junk you put in your brain and it's wishful thinking and that just played out on the stage of your processing time when you're sleeping. So, knowing about sleep and dreams and how that works will also understand your mind, because your mind, it goes through different neurotransmitters to actually make the different energy wave, like in your brain, like a heartbeat. You have you have a like a you have like you have energy waves going in your brain there. So um there's like different states of like alpha, this and that, and they do correspond with now I'm going to jump off, but not binaural beats, I'm going to say, but hertzes, different sounds. They're obviously energies, and they're obviously going to affect you differently as well. So, that's a little good to vibe with, just for vibes, just to feel vibes. Like, what does a 444 feel like versus like a 666, of like, that's more abundance and like the heart and stuff like that, and like positive relationships and stuff like that. So, like, I really do like the Hertz music too on YouTube. There's different healing Hertz, there's meditation Hertz. You can do the Hertz music, relaxing Hertz, a 412 or something like that for sleep, with your psilocybin, because I would microdose. I would listen to my Hertz music and then have very spiritual experience, positive for spiritual experiences. So that really helps too. And just feeling the energy. What does that feel like? You know what a bad vibe feels like. You know what it feels like. So you walk into like a dingy, like, you get hired, you go into the dingy like basement restaurant, there's trash everywhere, the sink is all clogged and running everywhere, the trash is full, there's old fish sitting in there, there's bugs flying around, there's dirty mop water all over the floor. That feels gross. That smells gross. That feels gross, right? So you get to know what like what bad energy feels like, and like what good energy feels like. Feels lighter, feels fresher, cleaner. That's why we use like colognes and Florida waters. Smells nice, fresh, clean. Now that's very attractant, and that'll attract spirits, good and bad, because it's bees like honey. But it does help your mind and mentate to come to like a greater, higher vibe, so that those things can't really come in and bug us at that much, because it has that much of an impact on us. As we are the portals of whether or not spirits enact and do anything in this realm or whatever. So before I jump off, that's another thing I'll say. You can't just enact a guardian. You can't just be like, okay, the spirit come here, and then nothing else will bother me, because we are the ones that actually lets it in and out at a certain point. So you can tell that thing to not let anything in all you want, and that thing, that's its job, and you did everything for it to do that. If you're just like, yeah, that spirit can come in or whatever, then it's going to come in. So that's one thing about ADR and ADR, the Druidic, whatever neo-pagans I ran into. They have a set thing structure to their rituals, and they're like, why don't you just call up a doorkeeper? Like for seances, it's like, first of all, we process these mortals, getting back to what we just had said. Second of all, that abdicates any of us of like self responsibility. So our vibes, what we get up to, our energy, our thoughts, that's gonna color everything. That's gonna influence everything. So not everything is intention either, but it certainly will impact the experience. So um, there's that. There's that. Just knowing what energies are like. What is energy like? What does it feel like? Is it tense? Is something wrong? Like, something's not right. Like, just try to figure out, okay, look around. Oh, I didn't notice, like, the table was all burned up there, or the ash fell over there. Oh, I didn't notice that. Or, you know what I mean? Like, start looking around, you know? Um, you know what excitement feels like. You're really excited to see a band or something. You walk into the stadium, this hype. There's like what, 50,000 people going ha 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 ha, or a football team ha ha ha. Like, that feeling. You know that feeling. Aggression. Aggression. You know that feeling. Huh. Like, you have to know the emotion energy. What does it feel like? That's beyond. I saw something. I heard something. Who cares? Start with that. Start with that. Not only is that going to help you like identify with yourself, right? What's going on? So this thing over here is doing it. That's not me, right? Like what? I had a really good day today. I'm really relaxed and stuff like that. All of a sudden, why am I getting this like, you know what I mean? So no, like check yourself, like you, okay, this is me. Okay, and then now this is something spiritual. This is me and something spiritual, right? So then spiritual abilities, I have these spiritual abilities. Now there's a spirit. The spirit can only communicate this way. This spirit over there can only communicate this way. The spirit over there can only do that. So it's a combination of the spiritualist and what is the spirit? What can this do? Right? And that's why at the Misa we have several different types of spiritualists. Somebody who can mount spirits. Somebody's good at hearing or seeing or whatever. So we have a combination of people that are better able to identify what is going on. So imagine yourself next time you have a spiritual experience. I want you to identify these things. What's the setting? What are they wearing? What do they look like? How old are they? Are they tall? Are they short? How much weight are they? Like you're giving a police report. You're a spiritual detective at this point. Like, okay, they're about 40 years old. They're it was a female. It was, you know what I mean? Like that's going to give you a lot of you want to make a report to yourself. They're holding a rolling pin. Okay, well, does it add up? Were they standing in a kitchen? Like, you know what I mean? Everything together. Setting, person, place, thing, who, what, where, when, why, all the W's. We learn these things in school. Okay? But what, we just lost them now? You know what I mean? And things should add up. If you wouldn't do something in real life, like, why are you doing that spiritually? Or that's okay now just because I'm dreaming. Or just because there's a ghost now, it's okay that it's spitting at me. Well, I wouldn't accept someone spitting at me in real life. Like, why is that okay now? Like, let's have some logic here. Let's be grounded, have real strong roots, you know what I mean? So we can have those branches. So, like I said, foundation, going within, going to your roots. We go below first before we reach up here. You know what I mean? We can start traveling some of those roots. The main route between us and the dream realm, it is a sort of like a back door to and there's only like kind of like one tube to get there, to like in Kabbalic thought, to the dream realm. There's that one path, which is called the world, which is we're on earth, which is also known as the tree, the world tree, is between us and Yesod, or us and the astral realm, or us and the dream realm. There's that one path. So that is very, very useful. If you can only get from here to there, if you can only like, oh my God, I'm awake on the in the meeting place in my dream now. Oh shit, I'm in the field where I meet. There's my indios and I see them coming through the trees. Okay? If you can at least do that, that's amazing. And that's only step one. From here to there. There's a whole bunch more planetary realms, and even those that can trickle down and visit us down here, they have their own sort of lands or homes elsewhere. Because that's a meeting place right above our realm, right above where we are. And so my videos in general, yes, they will help you go through the ATRs, but I'm not trying to tell you specifically how to practice and do things. And please do not do some of the things like throwing pennies or going to the graveyard without like a sense of what you're doing and some mentorship or something. Okay? Because I took this stuff very seriously. You need to learn how to protect yourself, and be in with your guides and stuff like that. This is the type of stuff you should be doing with having, an astral sword, a double, and having some of your tools or something at least. You should be branching out and trying to do these things before you start working with other people and astrally projecting, going here and there, because a lot of these spiritual societies will have you do that because they know they can take your energy. They know that you're a baby. They can walk all over these places. They can walk all over the tree, walk here, walk there. They can go back here, go there, come down into your dream, pop out, do whatever they want. And they know that. And so they'll teach you astral projection and dream walking because they know they can come eat you and they can do whatever they want. So please, you guys, get in with your guides, start practicing feeling the elements, spiritual weaponry, balancing yourself, get energy work in, start doing these foundational skills, because it's going to be very hard for you to like, walk faster, basically, if you're always playing catch up and going back to try to do these things. And these and people will try stuff, and it's not smart to just put yourself out there, shine your light, like, here I am, everybody, because that light is going to draw a lot of predators. They need healing. That's what they do. They go to a lighthouse, a wrecked ship. I need a lighthouse. Or I'm messed up. Where do you go? Well, now you go to a hospital. Back in the day, you would probably go to like some kind of makeshift church hospitalier night thing, battleground, where they would patch you up. So um, it's the same thing. They recognize they need help, and then they're attracted to you, or they know like you're a walking phone, and then they'll go to you. So you really need to take the time to practice like shutting down, spiritual defense, saying no, having a strong backbone, uh, knowing who you are yourself, your own thoughts, your own tendencies, knowing how to shut down when you don't want to have, when you're not ready, when it's not okay right now. But you can't run away forever. Like eventually you're gonna have to run towards that burning building because you're unsafe out here as an untrained medium. It's a lot safer to actually start engaging with this stuff, even if it seems unsafe. It is actually a lot safer in a controlled manner to be engaging with this than just out here wild and running around, untrained. These things are still gonna bother you, but it's just you're not gonna be able to be like, no. So I like shutting the door metaphor as well. Like, shut the door, and you might need some force even to shut that door, but you see the light coming through the cracks and just be like, bam, shut it. Like, no. Be like, later. You know what I mean? Like, have a lot of tools. These are visualization tools. Now, a lot of Wiccans say, bubble of light, you can't get me. Bubble of light, ha ha ha. That's not going to do shit. I'm sorry. That's just, again, your life force. I have a nice juicy aura. Come eat it. Now, having a nice strong aura helps, definitely, but that is not going to keep everything out, and that's not the be all end all bubble of light, because entities feed off positive energy and emotion, not just negative. They'll feed off sexual energy. They'll feed off praise. They'll feed off offerings. And me giving a watermelon is not evil, but they will eat it. So saying negative entities only eat negativity is absolutely false. Absolutely false. So my little happy little bubble of light, like, that's not the be all end all. I hate to tell you, but having a good strong sphere of influence, definitely, and your guides make up that as well. So that's why we need to be so tight in there. That's also why we don't need to just be grabbing spirits here and there and doing all these too many spiritual practices, because that will create gaps, because now your guide's not standing there. You tried to bring this one in, or do this or do that. So try to just keep to the basics, and with your mortos first, and your guides and stuff like that. And it's good to learn about other things, or maybe like go into other things, but I'm just telling you, like, being too eclectic is not going to really serve anybody, really. It's just not. Eventually you're going to find your lanes. And yeah, so I don't know, like, it's I know, like, it's a variety of like things in the equation that factor into the science or whatever. Like, okay, it might be your mood one day, and the next day it might be because you're sick, and then the next day it might be because this, you know what I mean? um and like, I do feel like spiritual stirrings around September, witchy time. I start to feel it a little more. But Christmas is very witchy, and April's actually really witchy too. And if we need to do something, we're gonna pretty much do it now. Like in Palo, there's no waiting for, oh, we need to wait till the full moon. It's like, no, we need this now. Like, we need to do this now. Like, somebody's dying now, or whatever now, so we're gonna do it now. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm talking about like riding waves, going with energy, realizing energy, just more as like foundational skills, so that when you do other things, like, you're already like, you're already almost there. And I'm lucky that I'm marked for spiritualism. Again, not everybody's gonna have the same ability. Like, I'm marked for spiritualism. So I am super espiritista, not to like pat myself on the back, but I have those markings extremely strong, not only in my Ifa Ita, but my Ita when I received Babuluaye. Like, they just looked at me like shit. Like, so I'm marked for spiritual, like, ghosts, spiritual spirits manifesting. That's my marked. I'm marked for that. So like, somebody else, you're not gonna have that. You know what I mean? So it just depends. Like, it's just, I'm sorry that I was born to play the NBA spiritually, basically. And then other people might just be as good or better, but then you're going to look at like the majority of the population just will never be as good as me. I'm not trying to say that just because you're not born that way. So everybody is born with like a modicum. We are all mediums. There's one PDF. Everybody's born with some form of ability, and it's basically formed there for survival, like preternatural senses, like animals. Everybody's born with, but not everybody's like geared to like you're the dead and like that's basically it. Like not everybody's really just born like that. Like I'm basically born as like a goth girl, basically. Like you're just born that way, and that's what you are. Like that's it. So knowing like where you should be at type of thing, like you know what I mean? Like no knowing like that's really really you. Like that's really because I like I said, I've been harassed by ghosts since I was very young. I had horrible experiences. And like I said, most of it will start out kind of bad like that, and I wanted nothing really to do with it. So it's like I was born that way. Like I didn't want that, and I couldn't control it. And like I had ghosts telling my little sister when we were kids to like go out into the forest was like wild animals. Like when we're like kids and we're not even allowed to like go to the mall without an adult, a parent, even when we were like 16. Okay, so like I was like horribly like haunted by ghosts when I was young, and like priests are like no help at all. Like the backup for all that and everything like that is like humongous. Like they have to go to the Vatican, get approval. And there's actually very few of them that like are even chartered to do exorcisms. They're trying to train a bit more, but they also move towards like mental illness is a large part of this, and we can't just be blaming everything on demons as well, the Catholic Church now. So I'm just saying there was out like no help to be had there. So I wish I would have been brought up in one of these cultures that would have known what to do with me, because it was so bad. But I'm just saying like it's not just a good thing. Like I'm not bragging. I'm just saying it's not necessarily a good thing. Like it was very bad. It was very rough. So I was just born that way. And not everybody's has that experience. Okay? Not everybody's just gets mounted by a ghost in the middle of the night and starts sleepwalking around. So I don't know, people who are sleepwalkers, I don't know, you tend to have more of a tendency to do some of the stuff as well. I don't know why. And none of that stuff happens anymore, okay? So once my head was properly sealed and I went through these traditions and now I can fight back or I can organize them, like there is nothing that bothers me. Nothing. And I know how to deal with it if it even tries. Like, I don't care. It's like I'm too old for that. That's kind of feel like how I feel now. Like I don't play, so it's like I don't care anymore. So it's like now it's good. So, and now I'm kind of like, whoa, I have this. But like, at what cost though? Like, I would have rather not any of this have happened, actually. So, yeah, I'm saying I'm super spiritualist, but I'm also saying I wish I never had that experience though. So put it that way. Yeah. Not everybody has that. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm recognized where spirits manifest in a physical body. I'm recognized that. I'm recognized as that. Um, in Ifa, and I'm also recognized that through Ocha as well through my what I got in my Ita when I received Babulaye, who as so far as my Ita and my head marking is my Orisha, who has lots to do with spirituality, who has lots to do with mortos. Huge. He's like when you look at Saint Lazarus, it's King of the Dead, it's Tata and Fumbi. It's hugely the dead, and that's my Orisha. So that's why I am that, and I'm also in a Sogbo because of an Inganga as well in Ifa. So I'm marked for you have to fix yourself in Palo. You have to deal with the dead. You have to fix yourself doing that. That's the reason I have to do it. It's like medicine. It's like you're messed up, so you need this medicine. That's the way it is sometimes. So Some people complain or say, why are these, and I even have to say it to myself, why are all these bad people in these traditions? Or like, why do all these people who have no business having some type of power be in these traditions? It's because it's medicine. Like people who are very messed up sometimes, they do, I'm just talking even physically, not just mentally or fucked up personalities, they will call you on your stuff and they tell you these teaching stories so that you refine yourself and you realize, okay, in the story, I'm the perpetrator. Okay, in the story, I'm the victim. Okay, in the story, I'm the bystander. Okay, in the story, I'm the judge of what's going on. You see where you're at, and then it makes sense to you because people can't tell you, don't do that. Do this, because you're not going to do that because it doesn't like filter in and make sense in your brain. And that's why we have all these traditions and the ways of doing things. So I hope that really helped you guys with meditation. If you have any other questions, if you want the names of the books, I could put it out there. It's like ran by Dolores Nowicki and the Temple of Soul, who were they're UK based in their Hermetic Lodge, but they put out some very interesting information based off of Golden Dawn and Cicero and some other things. Very interesting Kabbalic information in terms of Hebrew letters, Psalms, path working, all very usable stuff later in life. I just didn't have the reference point for certain things because I'm not a male and I didn't want to go through the lodge system. Stuff like that, stuff like that. There's just certain limitations of where I was at for what I could go through and do. But magically, there's a lot you can do. Um, you can't really learn a lot or be really effective at a lot doing things neo-pagan wise, but personally for yourself, you can make some of those relationships. You can start having like some of those experiences. And it's relatively harmless because they're not really like super alive, raw, virile, rabid traditions. For the most part, a lot of them you can kind of like dibble and dabble and find your way through and start having some experiences. This is the main reason I'm making these channels. It's not, again, it's not to say ATR, yeah, we sit around and meditate, Lucero. Like people say, like, that's bullshit, obviously. And I'm gonna say that's bullshit. Everybody that put out like Loa music and we're gonna sit down and do the voodoo meditation now. We're gonna do this voodoo ceremony meditation for Dambala. Like I see even Haitians doing that. I'm sorry. They're just trying to make money. That is not real. Okay? That is not real. We do not sit around doing voodoo meditations. We mount spirits. We mount spirits. We have visions. We dream dreams. We don't sit around and have meditation and, oh, wow, I saw this. We don't do that. So I will call bullshits on that. I will call bullshit on any like Lucero meditation music, whatever. We don't sit around Palo doing that. What I am trying to tell you guys to do is like refining your senses and start building yourself up. And like I was trying to say, either the mystery schools made you learn like astronomy, math. They made sure that your physical specimen, that you were in shape because that's discipline and the beauty, that's a perfection of man right there of, a good physical body. And that's pretty ableist, but I'm just saying like having that refined, having all this discipline or understanding different subjects is going to give you more reference point. You're going to understand more things the more you just generally understand about life, you know? So that's where we're at now, and these traditions are evolving. That's the other thing, and they're not going to be able to be keep being done like they were in the past due to animal extinction, laws, downsizing, living in smaller and smaller places, etc., etc. Like it's just things are going to be changing, and so the most important thing is your spirituality and you and your spiritual vessel, keeping that clean. Meditation can help you clear your channel, clean, light coming through your body, clearing out your light body. That's helping to clear away negativity. Even in Qigong, you have a ball of energy, negativity, you throw that from your kidney or something, you throw that into a well, into a hole in the ground, and then you seal that after or whatever. You get rid of it. You thank Mother Earth for taking care of it. You give an offering or whatever you're going to do. Okay? So yeah, Qigong, obviously they have a system of Wu shamanism, which is fairly secret and stuff like that. Yeah, there's Taoist sorcery. They do deal with ghosts. It's very interesting. They do have science to it. So anything you get into, maybe you have Chinese spirit guides. I don't know. Anything you get into is going to help you guys. It's just going to help you feel energy. It's just going to help you eventually embody everything, embody all these traditions, because that's what's important. You can buy a million shrines, you can buy a million initiations, but if it doesn't take, right? If it doesn't set, right? So we're trying to bake everything in. We're trying to, we're trying to set all those skills in to where we're going. Now, this is a lot longer than I wanted, but I will save this video, and I will organize more with the prayers and stuff like that. And I'll stop in some other time for you guys if you have other suggestions for videos. Bye.